Western medicine has finally caught up with what Eastern traditions have known for a long time. Mind-body kinetics is a technique that I have developed after basically almost a lifetime of research into spiritual domains and also the study of medicine, psychology, psychiatry, and really understanding the brain and how everything works. So the mind-body connection is recognized by other traditions as being quite sacred and necessary in cultivating a life that's filled with peace, love, happiness, and balance. In order for the mind to be balanced, other cultures and traditions throughout the world recognize how important it is to maintain this connection in a healthy way. This is something that is not very prevalent in the West, or not very integral to part of our culture. Western medicine has led to what exists today. A lot of overprescription of medications. People are unhappier than they've ever been before throughout time and throughout society. So the question becomes, what is it that we do differently in our culture, which separates us from a lot of the rest of the world? So one of the things that I think is really important to living a balanced life and to cultivating happiness and peace and tranquility and having a peaceful mind and having kind of a life that you want is recognizing that we have to pay attention to this mind-body connection. So the brain and the mind are all connected to our body. It's connected to our body, whether it's our neurological system, which is the brain itself. Our brain is also connected to our body through our immunological system, through our gastrointestinal system, through our muscles. There's constant connection and information. There's not a point where one thing begins and the other thing ends. So we have to begin to recognize and pay attention to this mind-body connection in order to live a life that is fulfilling for us. So the question becomes, how do we do this? What mind-body kinetics is it is a technique that I've developed that integrates all of these different facets together. So mind-body kinetics involves practices that have now been studied and proven to be quite effective. Meditation, for example, now very recently, things like mindfulness and meditation are big words, and a lot of science has caught up to what Eastern wisdom has known for a long time, and that is the benefits of things like meditation and mindfulness practices. These things are now known. We know scientifically that they cause physiological and neurochemical and structural changes in the body and the brain. And this directly impacts mental, emotional wellness. Mind-body kinetics is a practice that has come together through years of research that I have done, whether that's experience-based practices, research, and really elements, healing modalities, or energy-based practices that I have been exposed to and studying for my whole life. So it incorporates things like sound healing, meditation, emotional regulation directly through mind-body techniques, guided visualization, and breathing techniques, yoga movements, Qigong, elements of Qigong and Tai Chi that are also very restorative practices in ancient traditions throughout the world. And this thing called tension trauma release. And tension trauma release is really a practice that induces a restorative self-tremor to release current stress and old psychological trauma on those. Putting and integrating all of these things together creates this mind-body kinetics class. And what happens is that every time a person does the class, they're having a neurological, psychological, emotional, and physical release. And all of these elements come together to create and restore the body and the mind and balance the body and the mind. now know that meditation changes physiology. We also know things that like yoga and qigong and tai chi and breathing techniques and breathing relaxation actually change physiology. And neurochemistry and physiology act hand in hand and can change these processes in our mind. And so in order for happiness and peace and balance and all the things for it that we desire to exist, we have to start paying attention to integrating something in our lives that goes beyond medication and goes beyond even talk therapy, to do something different, to target an aspect of our lives that is different so that we can get healing. Now, mind-body kinetics integrates all these different facets and puts them together for a very enriching, maximal response. So people have a greater sense of peace, a greater sense of wellness, improvements in depression, improvements in anxiety, elements of even PTSD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and improved relationships, improvements in their level of self-confidence, just entirely having a greater sense of peace and balance and happiness in their life. Now, some people have asked, how is mind-body kinetics different than yoga? Well, one of the things that I mentioned before is that a lot of the yoga today has lost one of its original origins of meditation and spirituality. And so what it is it connects people, mind-body kinetics connects people to the spiritual elements along with some of the other practices that are not very involved with yoga. So emotional regulation, for instance, and the meditation and mindfulness practices that are not very common in most of yoga today, although yoga is very beneficial and has its place and does a lot of wonders in helping the mind and the body balance itself out and helping with peace and quality of life. It is a very different feeling than yoga. So the patients that have, or people that have come in and have tried the class say that they walk out having a very different experience than yoga itself. They say that they feel a lot more peace, a lot more calm, that they feel their emotions are a lot more regulated, and that they have a deeper sense of just wholeness, peacefulness, quietness, and really understanding what physical mindfulness is, and really incorporating and integrating it into their daily life on a daily basis. So really anybody can benefit from mind-body kinetics. You can benefit from it whether you take medications or you do therapy. It's something that you can add into your wellness routine, or it can be something like, it can be a standalone practice so that you are maintaining your anxiety level and you're maintaining your stress levels. We know now that stress and anxiety and depression are directly related to all types of disease and an increased incidence of all chronic diseases, whether it's cardiovascular disease or an increased incidence of stroke or many other diseases. And so now that we know that, by doing and engaging in a mindfulness practice on a regular basis, you are taking that step to prevent any kind of disease from developing, and really kind of taking a step towards a proactive step beyond medications and therapy, and not limited to medications and therapy, in your own psychological wellness. Mind-body kinetics is allowing the entire system to be healed and cleansed on a regular basis. And the only way to do that is through the combination of these techniques. I think it's time that as a society we recognize and start paying attention to maybe why in the West we have so much unhappiness, why there is so much stress, why there isn't a lot of people that say that they are happy and feeling peaceful and feeling well, where across the world they don't write as many prescriptions for psychiatric medications, and yet people across the world report greater sense of peace and happiness than we do in the West. And we have to pay attention to, well, what is it that we are not doing or doing in our society that makes our society feel vacant and empty? What is it that other traditions and practices have? What wisdom and ancient traditions can we learn from to cultivate our inner sense of serenity and happiness and peace? So that's what Mind Body Kinetics does, is it's our kind of journey and connection into ourselves, and bringing us back to restoring our mind, body, and spirit so that we can live a life that is filled with happiness and peace, and that we are not limited to just medications and other modalities, that we actually make a lifestyle change.